Welcome back. You are watching News Center. When G20 leaders meet in New Delhi this week, there will of course be tension in the room when it comes to the Ukraine-Russia war. The West would like to hold Russia accountable for what is happening in Ukraine currently. Joining us to talk about expectations from the G20, what does UK really expect from India's presidency and UK-India bilateral ties going forward, is UK's High Commissioner to India, Alex Ellis. Thank you very much for joining us, High Commissioner. Your key expectations from the G20 Summit this week?
I think the G20 Summit will show the same ambition as the G20 presidency has shown since the start of this year. I expect Prime Minister Modi to push hard for agreement on some of the big global challenges. Health, sustainability. I think that he's right to do so, and we will support him all the way. And the way that you include more nations within the G20, for example, we very much support India's approach to the African Union joining the G20. So there'll be a lot of ambition. We will be supporting our ambition. You're quite right. We'll also be looking for ways in which we can put pressure on Russia to stop this mad invasion of Ukraine and the harm it's doing to Ukraine and to the world. So we'll be right with Prime Minister Modi. It's a tough job, but I think he's the man for it.
Right. There has been a lot of talk about pushing ahead with the Delhi Declaration. Are we near consensus as yet?
As I speak, some people are locked in a hotel somewhere in Haryana trying to thrash out the details. I think it'll be tough, actually, because Russia has become so much more difficult, even since the Bali summit in November last year, and the Russian delegation has rejected the words they'd agreed in Bali, and the situation on the ground in Ukraine is tough. So it's hard to judge, but I think, as I say, that India is unusually well equipped to bring the different countries of the world together to try and find a way through, so that we are talking about some of the big issues around global poverty, around the need for sustainability and so forth.
So are you saying that both Russia and China are now not even supporting the Bali text?
My understanding is that both of them have walked away from that. I suspect that's really driven by Russia, and that's a tough thing for the presidency to deal with, so I'm sure they will be trying to find some creative solutions. The United Kingdom is clear. Russia has to stop its invasion of Ukraine and the harm that it's doing. We agree very much, actually, with what the Indian government said just after the invasion last year, when it said you have to respect territorial integrity, the UN Charter and borders.
What would be the red line for you when it comes to the Ukraine-Russia war and its wording in the communique or the Delhi Declaration?
I'll leave that to the people who are sitting, as I say, with wet towels over their head and hopefully some masala chai in some hotel in Haryana. But we have to look both at the damage which Russia's invasion of Ukraine is doing to Ukraine, but also the global damage. For example, that Russia has walked away from the Black Sea grain deal. What does that mean? That means less grain getting out of the Black Sea to the rest of the world. What does that mean? That means a higher food inflation in India and less grain getting to the poorest of the world. This is nuts, and we have to try to stop it.
So Russia is going to be represented by Sergei Lavrov, not Putin. Yep. China will be represented by Li Qiang, their premier, not Xi Jinping. What message does this really send out? And does this weaken the G20 discussion?
I think the G20 is a really important body for showing the political will to deal with the big problems of the world. And that's what we hope we'll see, and what Prime Minister Sunak is absolutely ready to show. How people represent themselves, that is for them to decide. What I know in the case of our own Prime Minister, he is really looking forward to coming, and he will be determined to support Prime Minister Modi.
Rishi Sunak, UK Prime Minister's expectations from India during this presidency, and what's on the bilateral agenda?
So the Prime Minister will come. It'll be his first visit to India since becoming Prime Minister, and he'll come with Mrs. Murthy, with his wife. That is a big deal, I think, to have a Prime Minister and his wife coming who know India so well. In case of Mrs. Murthy's case, is Indian herself. So that's a great day, and I think something which shows the way my country has changed so much in the last decade. Not just our Prime Minister, if you look at our cabinet more generally. So they will come, I think, provoking a lot of interest, I hope. They will be focused on the G20 in particular, but I hope that they will have time to meet some of the amazingly talented young Indians there are, and also some of the big investors, because one other issue which will need to progress in the bilateral sphere is pushing forward on the free trade agreement.
Right. Speaking about the free trade agreement, we've completed 12 rounds, 13th round has just begun. Where are we with the negotiations so far? What has been agreed upon so far, and what lies ahead?
So the free trade agreement would be a great thing for both countries, both for economic reasons. We have about 3.5 lakh crore of trade between the two countries, but we could grow that a lot. We've already agreed to try and double our trade by 2030, and this is a good way of doing that. It should also support investment. India's going to make this huge leap to being a developed economy by 2047. It's going to need a lot of capital, both from within India, but also investment from outside India. So something which protects that investment is really important. So there are big economic gains. There are also big strategic gains. India's the 5th largest economy in the world. We'll get to 3rd, I think, pretty soon. The UK is the 6th. To have two democracies, which are such large economies, combining together, I think shows a very strong signal. Now, we got through most of the negotiation. The large majority of the chapters of the negotiation are now closed. So we're into the tough stuff. But the tough stuff is tough for a reason. And we have to see the political will as well as the kind of technical ability to get through these really chewy subjects.
Right. If you speak of the really chewy subjects, would it be Scotch whisky? Would it be automobiles? Could you list out some of those areas for us?
I'm trying to mix my metaphors on chewy and Scotch whisky. Hopefully, a good Scotch should be smooth rather than chewy. Yeah. I think that the main issues will be around ensuring protection for investment between the two countries. As I say, it's big, but it can grow even further. It'll be around lowering tariffs on both sides. UK's tariffs, the taxes on imports, they're really low. India's are very high. Understandable, these are two economies at different levels of development, but how can we reduce them to improve the trade between the two countries? And there are some technical rules around that, we'll call it rules of origin, which we need to get right. I think it'll also be the opening up of the services markets. The UK's services market, for example, for lawyers, it's really easy to be an Indian lawyer working in the UK. It's much tougher the other way around. We'll look for a few areas of development in that. So those will probably be the main areas. They're tough. They're tough for a reason. But I think with the political will and, as I say, the technical capacity, we can do it. But I have to say there's quite a lot of work still to be done.
Okay, so there is no year-end deadline to the talks on the FTA?
I think, my Prime Minister would always put the quality of the deal first, and he'll want to get the right deal. Now, I believe that a right deal is possible, and I think he does as well, but that's what he'll be discussing with Prime Minister Modi. Because, remember, a free trade agreement is a way. It's a way of growing our economies, which, you have the tremendous ambition of Prime Minister Modi. We want to grow our economy as well. But it also provides, in my view, a signal to the world about democracies of very different shapes and sizes and with a complicated history, looking forward. Because I think one thing about Prime Minister Modi, Prime Minister Sunak coming here and Mrs. Murthy is looking forward. What is the UK of today? They represent, that is the UK of today and getting into and working with a country of tomorrow, like India.
When we speak about Akshata Murthy, recently there have been a lot of questions in the UK press saying, and this is quoting the Labour Party, that there is a conflict of interest. Akshata Murthy is from the Infosys family. Infosys has a direct stake in the trade deal. Do you think that's impacting the negotiations from the UK side in any way?
That is, I think, a question which the Prime Minister's spokesman already answered, saying that the Prime Minister fulfilled all his obligations in terms of what is required to do of declaration of interest. And I wouldn't have anything to add to what the Prime Minister's spokesman has said.
Right. Now, in terms of more mobility from India to the UK, is there room for more concessions?
Well, I think let's look at some of the facts on mobility today. So India gets roughly 30%, maybe a little bit more, of all of our main visas from for the UK. So we have 140,000 student visas from June 22 to June 23. We have 530,000 visit visas. We have 52,000 skilled worker visas. These are huge numbers, and show how the UK is open to Indian talent, visitors and students. So I think you need to put to one side what the kind of visa regime is, what the visa policy is, with some very specific bits for an FTA. And the FTA tends to be about intercompany transfer, so people moving from a company between the UK and India, and vice versa. One thing I'd like to see, actually, is a bit more of Brits coming to India. I think we have a lot of visitors, but I'd like to see some of the talented youth of Britain getting to know the India of today and seeing what the reality is here.
Right. My final two questions, High Commissioner. When it comes to the FTA and the talks around the FTA, could we see negotiations between Prime Minister Modi and Rishi Sunak for an early trade deal or an early harvest agreement or a mini trade deal, or that is not on the table at all?
Yeah, I think we're well past that stage because we've gone a long way deep into these negotiations now. So I think what we're aiming for is a fully comprehensive deal. Probably a more comprehensive deal than India has signed with anyone to date, and one which, UK has about 70 free trade agreements, but one which will reflect the realities of India from our side as well. So I think we're past that stage now.
And finally, when it comes to priorities in the bilateral agenda, anything that is unfinished, when it comes to global alignment with India, Are there certain priorities that you'd like to outline for our viewers?
I think, we already established a couple of years ago between the two prime ministers a roadmap for the future, and that was partly about economics. We talked about the FTA, security and defence, where I think we can do a lot more together, given that this is a very geopolitically disputed world, and we're already advancing a lot in our armed forces collaboration. We've had, military ships visits out here quite recently, including to the Andaman Islands, and we hope to do more of that kind of thing. Defence and security, I think also mobility we discussed, and I think the flow of people between the two countries, of talented people between the two countries, is a great thing. And sustainability and health. Remember, one of the best things the UK and India have done together was the Covishield vaccine. That had tremendous global impact, combination of British research and technology with fantastic Indian distribution and manufacturing capability. So that's something we'd like to grow as well, and the ambition which Prime Minister Modi showed on the sustainability side at the Glasgow Climate Change Summit. How are we going to grow at the same time as making a big energy transition?
Great.
So there's a lot to do.
A lot to do. Thank you very much for speaking to us, High Commissioner.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. So that's all we have time for here on News Centre. Thank you for watching, and keep tuning in to CNBC-TV18 for our coverage of the G20 Leaders Summit.